Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on managing your connections and ensuring accurate referral revenue share fees. The webinar this morning is relevant for all apps that are listed on the Xero App Store. So we have heard from some apps that today's topic has been a challenge, and we want you to be confident with understanding referrals, and it's important to us that those referrals are accurate. So today's session is intended to make referrals as transparent as possible for you. We will be recording this session and uploading it to YouTube. We will also email the link out to you with the relevant resources afterwards as well. All of that will serve as a resource to refer back to for yourself, or you can also share it with people in your team. I am just going to pop up a quick little poll, which I'd like to just check how confident you're feeling with today's topic. And if you could take a moment to answer that for me. And I'd like to ask again at the end, just so I can see whether you're feeling that today's session has been useful too. So I'm Grace Benedek Rooney, Developer Evangelism Manager at Xero, and I'll be your host today. I'll be joined later on in the live Q&A session by Kelly Curran, our lead product manager, and we'll endeavour to cover as many of the pre-submitted questions as well as any of the Q&A that comes through in today's session. We do have a number of different people, Sharon, Brianna, Jenna, and Javan, who are here to help answer questions that you submit throughout the webinar. If you would like to submit a question throughout the webinar, please use the Q&A function that you can see at the bottom of your screen in Zoom. Right, so I'm sure you want to know what we are going to be talking about today. We have a plethora of different topics that we're going to cover. The place that we're going to start is talking about what is a referral, what are the billing models associated to that, the timeline around active referrals, how you can know who and what you'll be charged for, as well as best practices on managing your connections, how to disconnect, what does contesting referrals mean. We'll wrap it up with some key resources, a note on our Xero referral program, and of course, we'll finish with live Q&A with myself and Kelly. If you do have specific questions about your circumstances of your app, you can email us via api@xero.com, and we can support you with the specific questions that you have in relation to your setup. So, first things first, what is a referral? Customers who are referred to you from us via the Xero App Store are considered referrals, or in other words, you could think about them as a lead. The customers must go through the following steps. First, they need to go to your listing on the Xero App Store. They need to click on the button, Get This App, and then they'll need to go through the Sign Up with Xero process, which is the process that you're required to build to create the seamless onboarding flow for customers signing up from the Xero App Store. As part of that Sign Up with Xero process, there are two critical things that must happen. First, the customer needs to connect their user, and second, they need to connect their tenant. Sometimes those two things happen at the same time, but you can also do those two things separately as well. Once they have gone through those specific steps, they will remain pending as a referral until they become active. And we'll talk about what active means shortly and how it's affected by the timeline of when they sign up and what the trial period is that we account for. So active referrals are subject to referral revenue share fees. There are two billing methods for referral revenue share, which are Xero App Store subscriptions and commercial billing. Customers who sign up directly to your app are not subject to referral revenue share fees. The Xero App Store subscription billing model is built out to our billing API, and it means that Xero manages the subscription revenue from the customer for you. Xero pays out subscription revenue less a 15% referral revenue share fee and a 2.9% processing fee. In some scenarios, Xero retains tax as we are liable to pay, and for other scenarios, tax is passed back through to you, the app, to pay. Further regional tax information is available in our business subscription business guide. If you want to learn more about subscriptions, I recommend that you go and have a look at our YouTube tutorial series and also read our guides on the Developer Center. Please note that if you have subscriptions set up, but have active referrals, which aren't on a subscription purchased by Xero, those referrals are the ones which are subject to commercial billing referral revenue share fees. Or in other words, customers who are on Xero App Store subscriptions are not subject to commercial billing referral revenue share fees. The rest of this webinar will primarily focus on commercial billing rather than Xero App Store subscriptions. So for commercial billing, you manage your own subscription revenue, i.e. you bill your customer. Then each month, Xero will invoice you for the referral revenue share fee. The referral revenue share fee is calculated by 15% of your agreed average revenue per user, or ARPU. And this is done for each active referral. That fee will then be charged for the lifetime of the connection. It is important for me to mention that commercial billing applies to the user level and not to the tenant level. So as an example, if a user connects 2 or more organizations, Xero only charges you a referral revenue share fee for one of those organizations. Later in this webinar, what you'll see is some screenshots of the dashboards where you'll be able to see the referrals and the status of those referrals. So you've heard me mention the term active referral. What does that mean for commercial billing? So let's go through the referral flow again. The user goes to your Xero App Store listing and they click Get This App on the Xero App Store. When they go through Sign Up with Xero, they must consent to share their user data, and they also need to consent to and authorize the connection between your app and their Xero tenant or Xero organization. Like I mentioned, these two things can happen at the same time, but they can also happen separately. Once they've gone through that, in order to become active, the connection must remain live for at least 30 days since the date of their first connection, i.e. we give you a defined 30-day trial period. The customer must also not be billed through Xero App Store subscription billing in order to be considered for referral revenue share for commercial billing. So a commercial billing referral will move from pending to active when they're connected for the right period of time and they're not billed for the Xero App Store subscriptions. Typically, referrals are pending for at least 30 days, but typically this will actually be 60 days before they're becoming active. And this is to allow for a 30-day trial period, which is defined by Xero. This trial period is not related to how you define a trial period for your app. It is simply to enable a reasonable minimum period for apps to qualify their referrals. Let's have a look at the customer trial period. I'll walk through this for trial periods that are within a month and also split across 2 months. If a customer purchases a Xero App Store subscription, they will not be subject to the timeline that we are talking through. So, first, within 1 month. In this case, the user will sign up on the 1st of March. They do this by clicking Get This App on the Xero App Store, and they'll connect your app. On the 30th of March, 30 days later, that Xero defined trial period will end. On the 1st of April, Xero will then count the referral as active. After another 30 days, on the 1st of May, you'll receive an email letting you know about the upcoming referral revenue share payment, which will cover the month previous. So the 1st of May, you'll get an email in regards to your April referrals. This email that comes through should be used as a prompt to check your referral dashboard, and we'll talk about what that is in a moment. Finally, on the 10th of May, payment is taken for your referrals, and that payment is your ARPU times 15% times the number of active referrals. Please note that if the customer has not converted to paying, you will need to disconnect them before the 1st of the month where the payment is taken for their referral. So if you disconnect them after the 1st of the month, but before the 10th of May, you will need to go into the referral dashboard and contest the referral. And I'll explain how to do that later. If you leave an unpaying customer connected to your Xero app, they will eventually become an active referral. Xero will not know that they aren't a paying customer. And so the impact of this is that you will be charged for a referral because to us, it is active. It is they haven't been disconnected. For customers who have trial periods split across 2 months, there's a little bit of a longer time period. So in this case, the user clicks Get This App on the Xero App Store and connects their user and tenant on the 15th of March. 30 days later, on the 14th of April, Xero's defined 30-day trial period ends. Then, on the 1st of May, we will count the referral as active. The first time you'll receive an email letting you know about an upcoming payment for that specific referral will not be until the 1st of June. Then, on the 10th of June, the payment will be taken for your referrals. And again, that is 15% times ARPU times the number of active referrals. So what that means is that there will be an entire month where a customer will be your paying subscriber before Xero deems it an active referral. Xero then charges the referral revenue share fee on the 10th day of the following month. The same rule applies here as the previous slide for trial periods within 1 month. If the customer has not converted to paying, you need to disconnect them before the 1st of the month where the payment is taken for their referral. If you disconnect them after the 1st of the month, then you will need to contest that referral. If you leave an unpaying customer connected, they will eventually become an active referral, and Xero will not know they aren't a paying customer. So again, the impact of that is that you will be charged for a referral. Any referral, any referral from the Xero App Store is a potential customer for you. They have found your listing, they've clicked through, and they've consented their user data. So even if they don't complete your onboarding flow within your app, there is an opportunity for you to source some contact data and follow up with them. That is because during authorization, if the customer connects their user, and their tenant, you'll be able to access information from their user scopes and the organization endpoints. That means you can access information like the name, their email, the company legal name, the country code for that organization, and even the Xero plan type too. Okay, so now you understand what a referral is and how a customer becomes an active referral. But how do you know which customers the referral revenue share fees are for, and how do you know how much you're going to be charged? Like I've mentioned a couple of times, you'll be emailed on the first of the month. And this goes to the billing contact you have set up in Xero via the Developer Center. You are able to update that contact. That email looks like the email on the screen right now. This email will break down the period of the fee, the number of referrals it's for, the total amount due, and the date of that invoice, which will be the 10th of the month. When you get this email, it should be a prompt to remind you to go and look at your referral dashboard. Speaking of the referral dashboard, it is visible to you in your Xero app. So once you've logged in and opened your app, you'll be able to see the referrals tab in the left-hand menu. Initially, you'll see this overview and it breaks down the total number of active referrals for each month. Further down on this page, you'll be able to see your billing contact details, your credit card details, and history of all of your payments too. Now, you probably want a little bit more detail than this, which is where you can click the View Breakdown that's in the top right corner. This will enable you to drill down into who the referrals actually are. When you look at this table, you'll be able to see all of the referrals and the status of those referrals. So if it's pending, if it's active, if it's contested. You can see the referrals for commercial billing. There's also a tab for Xero App Store subscriptions referrals, and you can also see the payouts associated to the Xero App Store subscriptions too. There's a variety of data available in the table, but you can also download, you can export to CSV, and there are some additional pieces of data that are available in there, such as dates and that kind of thing. Ensuring you are managing your connections is a critical part of accurate referral revenue share fees. The timeline you follow for this will affect how you are charged for referrals. So put simply, if the customer hasn't converted to paid, then you must disconnect them from your app. You need to consider the parts of your customer's journey which might require you to disconnect them. That might be maybe they don't subscribe after your trial ends. Maybe they've churned off your app. They've stopped paying. You need to disconnect them after that. Or perhaps they've been inactive for a period of time and you can identify that they've churned. If you do not disconnect those customers, Xero will not know they're not a paying customer. And the impact of that is that you will be charged a referral revenue share fee. So given that, let's talk through some best practices for managing connections. We've got a blog that we'll send through to you that talks through this in a little bit more detail, but I'm going to provide a summary for you here. The first thing is in the initial connection, you need to first treat them as a lead. And second, ensure you store the data that you need. So that is tokens, tenant IDs, user IDs, tenant names, date times, anything that you think is relevant to the experience that you're trying to create, and also managing the connections process. In particular, storing the tenant ID and user ID are quite important. That is because those enable you to make calls to some non-tenanted endpoints, which we'll talk about later. You should also log connection events as needed. customers may disconnect or reconnect several times, and you'll want to make sure you're tracking that. The next thing you'll need to do is monitor your connections. So what I mean by that is think about, how do you identify inactive connections? What are the trigger points in that customer experience, the customer journey, that indicate to you that they're inactive? Did they not convert after completing the trial? Have they not logged in for a period of time? Have they decided to turn off your app altogether? Once you've identified what those trigger points are, where you can identify inactive connections, you should use that to automatically disconnect your customers. So if they meet the monitoring criteria, use the Xero API to revoke their connection. This is a technical requirement for new apps who are completing certification, and it's also a requirement of apps who are completing recertification too. After all of that, sometimes a customer comes back, and in that case, you should prompt their reconnection. So prompt them to reconnect to Xero, and then get them to subscribe to your app as well. But what if you don't know who is connected to your app? So first, consider the best practices that I've spoken through. Make sure you're tracking all of the data you need right from their first connection to your app. Next, you can look at the referral dashboard, and this is what I was speaking through before. In here, you can identify the user IDs and also the organization IDs or tenant IDs. This referral dashboard will not give you all of your connections, simply the ones where there are or have been some kind of referral associated with. You can also use client credentials, and this will allow you to make calls to non-tenanted endpoints, which are app connections and marketplace billing scopes. For making calls here, you will need the user ID or tenant ID to make a call to get a list of connections, or you will need the subscription ID to get the subscription details. You cannot use client credentials to obtain a full list of connected tenants, hence why you need to be tracking this right from the first connection, the first authorization. If you'd like to disconnect via the API, you have two options. You can disconnect a tenant, or you can disconnect a user. We often recommend disconnecting the user, especially if they have churned or they've not converted. This is because when you disconnect a user, it will revoke all of that user's tenants associated to your app. So that typically will cover your ground and make sure you're not going to be charged for any of their connections that they may have made. The tokens associated for the disconnection calls that are on this page here are tenanted tokens, so you need to keep that in mind. And we've popped some sample code here. We do have full documentation in the Xero Developer Center that goes over the ins and outs of this too. In cases where a customer needs to remain connected to your app but is showing as an active referral, you can contest the referrals by the referral dashboard. There are two scenarios where you would typically need to do this. The first is that you make a disconnect call to the API to disconnect that user and their tenants between the 1st of the month, when that payment reminder goes out, and the 10th of the month when the payment is taken. The second scenario is that the customer may have signed up to you directly, but at some point, for whatever reason, they've gone through the Xero App Store referrals process via the Xero App Store, and they're showing up as a referral. You need to maintain their connection, so you can't disconnect them, but they shouldn't show up as a referral. So you can go on and contest for that reason as well. A thing to keep in mind is that disputes can only be done for the current period. So if you contest a referral, it does not impact historically billed periods. We do monitor the frequency at which apps contest referrals, and we'll reach out to dig into what's going on to see if there's some process improvement that you could make if we see a high number of contested referrals. A reminder that the referral email, which goes out on the first of the month, should be used as a prompt for you and your team to check the referral dashboard before the payment date on the 10th of the month. Quick note on requirements for certification and recertification. Implementing an automated disconnection process is required for new apps in certification, and it's also a requirement for existing apps which are going through the recertification self-assessment. This is something you'll go through annually. Right, we're getting towards our live Q&A session here, so I wanted to go over a few key resources for you. The first is that this video will be uploaded to the Xero Developer YouTube channel, and we also have a range of other videos on there on topics like Xero App Store subscription. You can see our quarterly webinar recordings and much, much more too. On developer.xero.com, we have a set of app partner guides, and that has comprehensive information on today's topic, as well as further information around Xero App Store subscriptions too. We also have an in-depth FAQs page, which runs through a lot of the detailed questions relating to referrals and billing and covers a lot of the information that I've chatted through. Lastly, we do have a dev blog, which we post to a lot anyway, but in particular, there is a blog from last year which walks through some of the best practices of managing connections in more detail too. So I'm just going to pop up a quick little poll again, just to see whether you're feeling a little bit more confident with your referral fees now after the webinar. While you're answering that for me, I wanted to talk through what if you want to refer a customer to Xero? Well, you should check out the Xero referral program. This is a separate program to what I've been discussing today. However, it does mean that you are able to earn a bounty for referring customers who successfully sign up to Xero. The customer will get a 90% discount for 6 months, and you, the app, will get a $200 commission for every eligible new paying Xero subscriber. So I'd highly recommend that you check that out. Before we jump into the live Q&A, there are 3 key takeaways I want you to have from today. First, any referral from the Xero App Store is a potential customer for you. They have found your app listing, they have clicked through and connected their user data, and you should use that. Second, active referrals follow a specific timeline. There is at least 30 days and usually 65 days between when they become active to when you're charged for those referrals. And lastly, you must automate disconnection of inactive tenants to help ensure your referral revenue share fee is accurate. If you don't disconnect them, Xero does not know they are not a paying customer. Xero has no visibility of whether they convert or churn for your app if their connection remains live. The impact of not disconnecting them is that you may be charged a referral revenue share fee for them. Right, so I think you've had enough of just me talking, and so now we're going to invite Kelly Curran to join us for our live Q&A. If you have more questions that pop up while we're chatting, you're welcome to submit them through the Q&A function too. If we don't get to your question, then please email us at api@xero.com and we'll be happy to answer it there. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for joining.
Kia ora, Grace. Thanks for that. It's a lot of information to get through. I hope everyone's been keeping up.
Yes, I hope so too. I am going to fire a question right at you first. And this was one of our pre-submitted questions, which was, how can I tell which tenant by name is using my app and are subject to referral commissions or referral fees?
That's a really good question, right? Because we don't all know things by org IDs or tenant IDs. Names make it much easier to check information and data. So in your referral dashboard, if you go into the commercial billing information there, you will see the user ID, the org ID, and the org name. So that gives you the information that you can use to then kind of go through different systems and figure some stuff out. You can also get that from the connections endpoint and on the organization endpoint too. So you can request that information back. It's really important that you obviously take full advantage of that sign up with Xero flow and make sure that you're capturing relevant user and org tenant information there. This should give you the advantage of having all the information to hand to follow up the lead yourself if they don't finish the onboarding flow or there's a challenge with that, or to reconcile with the referral dashboard stuff.
Absolutely. Bang on the money there, Kelly, with that. A slightly related question actually came through too, which someone was asking, can we see when a connection was last used on the Xero developer end?
Yeah, so unfortunately, Xero doesn't provide a list of the last use of a connection for you. You'll have to identify, think back about what indicates last used for you. So as Grace mentioned before, what you might want to consider here is when a customer actually churns off your app to trigger a disconnection event, or if they don't convert to paying. So thinking about what triggers you can use internally to then drive that disconnection process is super important.
Cool. Thank you, Kelly. Kind of related to that, and again, similar theme to what we've been talking through in the webinar today. Is there an efficient way to disconnect users from Xero? So if you haven't already, you should implement an automated disconnection flow based on the timeline that we've been talking through, based on what Kelly was talking about just then, which is identifying what means last use or what indicates that they're inactive. And once you've built that automatic job, it should just run in the background, a part of your BAU of your system, so that it's not something that you have to go and manually trigger. It's just part of how your product runs.
Yeah, I think that's super important to reinforce, Grace, is that, this isn't about Mantronics kind of working this for you. If you've got a really good automated disconnection process, things should run pretty smoothly.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We had a question around what pre-built code is available. So we don't have a sample app specifically for managing your connections. I do recommend that you read the blog that we have, which walks through best practices. We will soon be releasing a Xero App Store subscriptions sample app for .NET that will have many features, but at the moment we're not planning to cover managed connections. And this is because it's really personal to or unique to each individual app. Is your subscriptions, your trial processes work in different ways. So I'd encourage you to have a think about how you could build that for yourself. There was a question that came through, will disconnecting Xero access keys, I think you mean access tokens, from the app ensure that the referral for that particular tenant or particular organization will not be incurred? Yes, as long as you disconnect that organization, that tenant, the user before the first of the month, where the payment is taken for that referral, you will not incur fees for that. If they're disconnected after the first of the month where payment is taken, then you'll need to go in and contest the referral as well so that they aren't included in that period's payment. We had a question come through about if the referral share fees are negotiable. So our referral revenue share is standard. So the standard terms that all of our app partners are on. And so instead, what I'd recommend is that you go and check out the Xero referral program where you can make a $200 bounty for every customer that you successfully refer. It's a really great program. If you know that you're referring customers to Xero, I'd highly recommend that you go and use that and make the most of it.
And that's super exciting, right? Like we've heard a lot in the past about certain apps are like, well, we refer customers to you too. Where's our referral share? And now we've got something we can stand up, which is choice.
Yeah, I love this program. So I try and recommend it to every app that I talk to. A question for you, Kelly. What about if we have a freemium tier? How does that work?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So a lot of apps might have, a free option, right? And so you don't want to disconnect those tenants or those orgs because they're still using your app. This is really where it comes into our ARPU calculation. So the ARPU calculation for commercial billing is an average revenue per user, right? So if you've got some of your user base that is free and some of it that is paying, you should consider those free customers as part of your average calculation. So it should all even out. And we do recommend that you have a look at your ARPU information regularly and track it and make sure it's looking correct. Things change, right? Your plans change. You put your prices up. You might implement a free tier. You can request to get your ARPU updated via the API support channel. You can't do that yourself. We do want to check that off with you to make sure it's being calculated correctly. But yeah, so that's what you should be doing there. As you said before initially, Grace, and this is super important to me, is we want to make sure that this is a fair program, right? We don't want to be overcharging for referrals that aren't there, and we want to make sure that that ARPU value is correct too.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. So that's why we're here, making sure that you have all the information that you need to be able to put in place the right processes, the right tools, so that you're confident in the process that apps your referrals are going through, and you know how to run this as a part of your BAU of your business. We have a live question that's come through. Hi, thank you for submitting. Can we backdate referrals for the bounty? We weren't aware of it. I don't believe that is possible, Don, unfortunately, but as soon as you apply and you get approved, you can start making referrals. So if you want to go through and do that today, you are most welcome to go and do that. And if you have any questions in relation to that, then we can sort you with that too whilst you're going through the application process. I think we've got the lucky last question for you, Kelly. So if you have anything burning you really want to ask, now's the time before we wrap up. So Kelly, how do I get access to the referral dashboard?
Right, you want to come and have a look at the information, right? So in a lot of our communication to you, so in the email, we've got like links out to that. So you should be able to click through and get into the referral dashboard that way. If you find that you can't get access to that, you will need to get one of your team who's got access to the app in the developer portal to add you as a collaborator. If you're involved in any of the financials, I'd suggest that they add you as an owner as well. Only owner level people can test. So that's just something to bear in mind as well. If you have any challenges, though, please email api@xero.com if you're having any challenges with that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining me today to help out with the Q&A, and hopefully we've being able to answer everyone's questions too.
Oh, my pleasure. It's a subject really close to my heart, and it's nice to see so many participants on here. So, hey guys, thanks for coming along.
Thank you, Kelly. And what I just wrap up with saying is that today's topic has been something that you've been asking for, and we want you to be confident with understanding referrals. And it's important to us, like we've said, that those referrals are accurate. If you have any further questions, please contact us. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about this and help you out and point you in the right direction. We will make sure that this webinar is there as a resource for you and your team as well. As always, you can contact us api@xero.com, and we'll hope to see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.